In this episode, we're talking all about relationships, the importance of being healthy for a relationship, and ultimately why if you're not healthy, it could cause you to relapse. We're really giving you a play-by-play, a lot of dating advice if you're on a recovery journey. Today's guest we have on Allie. She gives a lot of good information on dating, how to be in a good relationship, and really the work that you have to do for yourself to prepare yourself for that relationship. I know you're going to love it. Enjoy the show. Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I'm your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, we've got Benjamin B.
What's happening, everyone?
And we have a lovely lady named Allie. Allie, how are you?
I'm good. Hello.
First things first, thank you for tuning in on the podcast app, whichever one that you choose to use, and thank you for watching on YouTube. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us, info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com, and ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message, right, friends?
Yeah.
Very well.
It's the first time I ever said that, Allie, in case you're wondering. First time, I just picked that up. Yeah. So...
Dude, you're ready. Did you pick up on that?
What?
Like she's like, hello, and then gives a little wave to the camera. Like,
yeah, you know your camera.
Well, I just want to be mindful of everyone that's watching.
Yeah.
You're a natural.
So here we are. We wanted to have you come on the show. We met officially, probably, I would say, about a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
And why don't you take a quick second at the beginning and tell us where you work, because that's how we kind of connected, and we'll go from there.
So I work at a facility called Resilience Recovery Resources, and we're an adolescent extended care PHP through OP based right here in West Palm Beach, so right down the street from you guys. And we are gender specific and age specific, meaning that we have two separate tracks, one for adolescent males ages 14 to 17 and one for young adults ages 18 to 28. Big life skills component, big family component to our program. We really try to take a look at the disease of addiction and alcoholism as a family disease, and we want to make sure that while the client is getting better in our care, so is the family. And the life skills component is just because we want to ensure that all of our clients have autonomy after they leave our program and success on their own, meaning that we help them find jobs when they're in our care. So we help them with resume building, interviewing, achieving jobs while they're in our program. And then we also help them budget once they do have a job so that we can help them just create some type of financial budget for them to succeed and not, and allocate the funds properly.
So when you say adolescents, what age again?
14 to 17.
Men?
Yes.
Or
yeah, well,
boys? Young men,
yeah.
I guess.
Boys or young adults.
They come in boys, they leave young men.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. That was good, Ben. You come in as boys, leave as men.
Yeah, that's got to be interesting because like we're very family focused too. Like if the family doesn't get better, but that's a whole nother component that we don't have to deal with at Rock. Like where they have legal guardians. Like our clients are 18. Like if the parents want to say kick rocks or step back, they can, but they have to like stay enmeshed legally.
Mm-hmm.
So can you imagine the challenges?
Well, I worked at an adolescent program for about 5 minutes back in the day, and it was awful. And I'm not afraid to admit, I am not built for that population.
Mm-hmm.
But what are some of the challenges that you find working with adolescents, in particular adolescent boys, like from that age? How do they even end up with you? And then what are some of the biggest challenges that you have? Hey, Real Recovery Talk family, based on you watching this podcast, I'm going to go ahead and assume that you have somebody in your life that struggles with addiction and or alcoholism. Now, because of that, you're always frustrated, angry, upset, sad, a lot of emotions, and I get it. I understand. I want to invite you into our free webinar, 5 mistakes that just about every family makes when it comes to addiction. This webinar is 100% completely free via Zoom, hosted by myself. At the end of this webinar, you're going to have a lot more clarity around your situation and a much more clear path moving forward in the things that you should do and shouldn't do. We're covering a lot in this absolutely free webinar. Now, if any of this sounds intriguing to you, please go ahead, click the link in the description, sign up, and I'll see you on the next webinar. Now, let's get back to the conversation.
I would say, so honestly, what comes to mind first is the limited resources. So we're an extended care program. So oftentimes when we need to have a client stabilized, like if there's heavy drug use or anything that needs stabilization from a mental health perspective, we have to send them to another facility. And so oftentimes it's hard with parents to tell them that they might have to go to like another state for that. Clients themselves and this is a lie that I told myself a lot when I first got sober, was I'm too young to be here. I'm too young to be an alcoholic or addict, right? And they don't realize, even though we can plainly see all of the consequences and the alcoholic and addict behavior, that they themselves are one of us sometimes. So I think internally for them, it's like the age thing that really kind of is like the hiccup for them, like the thing that can't get them to see the truth in themselves.
I think it comes down to like a desperation, because I remember being young. Like I started real young. By the time I was a junior in high school, like I was off my rocker doing drugs. But I remember like when I was bartending and I was around the age of 20, 21, I remember saying to myself, like, I'll get sober when I'm 23. It's like I had some time to like fix it. It wasn't like an emergency where like by the time I was getting close to 30, I'm like, oh my God, I better get sober. Like everybody's leaving me behind in the dust. Like people are starting families, all that stuff. They own homes. Like, what am I doing? So it's tough. Like, cause I had that same mindset of like, I need to fix this, but I got some time to fix it. It's like a cushion, if you will.
Let me ask you, and I have a lot of questions about this because we don't deal with a lot of adolescents. So, give us kind of an example, or like who is the right person for the program in terms of what drugs they're using, what behaviors they're what's the word? The behaviors that they have. Like who is that? Who is that person?
So right now we're primary SUD, which is substance use disorder, secondary mental health. We are in the process of getting ACA certified. So from that lens, really,
what's ACA for our listeners?
Sure. Sorry about that.
You're good.
So it would allow us to be able to take mental health primary, meaning if someone had no substance use in their history, but was suffering with any type of mental health, we would be able to take them in our care. Right now, the way that we're certified and accredited, we can only take someone that is dual diagnosed, where they're suffering with substance use as well as mental health. So from that lens, most of the times our clients are presenting, we have a lot of THC use. We have some heavier uses such as meth and opiates, but also with that, some type of anxiety, depression, ADHD mixed into that.
Staying on the THC, because that's always a hot topic. Would you say that's the vast majority of people in your care? They have some issue with THC?
Yes, but also a lot of those also have uses elsewhere, not just THC, if that makes sense. So like THC mixed with heroin or cocaine, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I just look at it like with adolescence. And again, like I tie it to my own personal experience. Like, you know, the first time I did heroin, I was 16, but the weed really is like, I feel like what made me mentally unstable. Weed, LSD, and mushrooms, like all the hallucinogen families are like what messed me up.
Yeah.
Like as far as the mental health side of it.
Yeah. THC is one of those things that like everybody's like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. And no, it's not. I mean, we're seeing, and there's plenty of studies out there that are showing and evidence that it exacerbates a lot of mental health, especially in young boys.
Yeah, as they're developing. Yep, exactly.
And once they reach that 20 to 23 to 25, that's when you can start seeing the schizophrenia, the schizoaffective, the serious mental health disorders that, arguably may never rear their ugly head. If you're not smoking weed, it may just, you may never, know or whatever. So I like the fact from 14 to 17, it's kind of would you agree that a lot of what you guys are doing is preventative?
Preventative and informative, I would say. Because of their age, a lot of them wouldn't know, because we're 12-step based, like they wouldn't know what AA is aside from what they see on like movies or maybe hear through the grapevine. And from my personal experience, when I got to AA, my conception of AA was very misconstrued. So I find that we're helping inform them of like what they're suffering from and what the solution is. Because they just look at it like they're having fun, right?
We talk about that all the time with like, even adults that come to treatment for the first time. And let's say they stay 30 days, which isn't long enough. And we like this, all the signs are there. They're going to go home and get high or drunk again. But essentially looking at it like you're planting seeds, and they now know what resources are available, such as AA, such as NA, how to get into treatment, all that stuff. That exposure to there is a solution and options to where, families a lot of times they'll be upset like, oh, he's coming home, he's not going to do well. We're like, we know, but it's still a success in the view of like, now they know where to turn, and they could turn there fast. They're not looking for it. They're like, oh, that's where I was supposed to be. Let's go back.
I love that you said the planting the seed, because I always say at the very, very least, at least we're just planting the seed for them to let them know that like if they ever do need help again, that they know that the help is available to them. Obviously you pray that like every client that leaves your care has success and is sober the rest of their life. But like we just know statistically, like that's very rarely the case, unfortunately.
Now, if we talk about the parents of these children, from their perspective, what are some of the things that they do right, and what are some of the things that they do wrong when it comes to this whole process?
I think doing things right would be qualified and classified as being open to the process. At the beginning of every client's stay, we do a treatment plan where they're involved, and we ask them, what would you like to see of your son, once he completes our program? What would you like to see of yourself once your son completes the program? Like, what changes do you want to see? And what they do wrong a lot of the times is throughout that questionnaire and like, kind of meeting with the client's main primary therapist, will uncover that like they have this perspective that as long as my son gets better, I'll be better. And that's not the case. Like, it takes two to tango, as they say. And so we all, as humans, bring our own experience, whether it be generational trauma or what have you, into our relationship. So what can you, within your control, change to better how you show up for your son? So when they become open-minded to that, that's when we see great success. But if they keep focusing on the son's the problem, as long as he gets better, I'll be better, that's where it's very difficult for us. And we have to kind of, again, educate them and try to explain to them why it's not just the son, it's the family unit as a whole.
Yeah, I think a lot of times, too, parents don't even know what success looks like either. Because, we get young guys in here, for instance, and mom will come in here and be like, they have to be better in 3 months because that's when school at the university starts, and they're starting at University of Florida or whatever the case is. And we're like, oh, my God, you're like totally focused on the wrong thing right now. Like if they just get themselves in college, everything will sort itself out. And it's like, or think goals along those. It's about goals for them and like status, if you will, versus like an internal deep dive and saying, not putting a time frame on it and kind of going from there.
Well, this is, and shameless plug, this is why we started the we have a family reconnect program, and it's basically, it's for family members and loved ones that have somebody like us, the three of us, in their life, son or daughter, spouse, somebody that they love dearly. And it really the primary focus on it is to give them the resources and the understanding and the awareness and the empowerment that they can change themselves. They can change the way that they perceive the situation, how they can react to the situation, how they can respond differently. And it's been great. I mean, it's all women, for whatever reason, men don't want to deal with
Well,
it.
we had our first guy show up.
We did have our first guy show up
With
last
his wife.
week with his wife. But you can see kind of the weight lift off of their shoulders a little bit. Like, oh, I don't have to control this. And in fact, I don't have any control over this. And so anyways, yeah, it's Family Reconnect. Again, shameless plug. realrecoverytalk.com/FRC. If you want to join, go there and get all the info. So what got you into this field to begin with?
So it's kind of a full circle moment for me lately. I just started at Resilience a month ago, and I've been actually sober since 2011 here in Florida locally. And I always told myself, like, I'll never get into the treatment world. I might not be able to differentiate between work and my AA work. And then over the last year, I kind of had a change of heart where I really wanted to have more impact in my role, like in my profession. And I also wanted to be around people more. I was working with my own company, a marketing company, helping different facilities. And I just felt disconnected from other people. So, and also the fact that I got sober at a young age. I got sober at 22. And I've known Chris and Steph, who own Resilience, for the last 10 years. I knew them when they first started out as a sober living down here, and then have watched the evolution, have helped them as like an external partner and vendor with like some of their marketing needs for trade shows or brochures, what have you, social media. And then the opportunity presented itself. And I really don't believe in coincidences anymore. I just see it as like God realigning me. But the opportunity presented itself where they're looking for someone in business development, and just mixed with my history with them, the fact that I got sober at a young age, the fact that I feel very strongly about their program. I knew for myself, if I was to get involved in treatment, it would have to be a facility where I would send my loved one to, because, not to talk badly, but there are some facilities out there that, like, I don't know if I would send my loved one to, And so it was really important for me to have and be working for a company that had like integrity and was doing right by the client and put client care at the center of all decision making.
So you got sober at 22.
Mm-hmm.
You're obviously not from Florida. I
No,
can hear it.
no.
I can hear it in your voice.
New Jersey originally.
What made you get sober at 22?
Oh, how much time do you have? No, I'm just kidding. It was the realization I had to be proven. I'm the type of person where you can tell me that the stove is hot, and I have to put my hand on the stove to like believe that it's hot. I just kept hitting my head against the same wall. I tried to work different elements of the program, like go to meetings, but maybe not meet with a sponsor, go to, do step work, but not go to meetings. And I was more miserable than ever, and the big book talks about that, where, you remove our solution and like, we can't live with or without alcohol anymore. And I had to come to that realization. And, at getting sober at 22, I kept telling myself, like, there's no way I can be sober. Like, I'm too young. My idea of an alcoholic and addict was so misconstrued. I didn't recognize it in myself. And I kept differentiating rather than comparing. And then I also think that I thought my life would be over, which is like such a crazy thing to think, because I was killing myself slowly. And yet I thought getting sober would be the thing that killed me. But it was really I'd hit physical bottoms. I had hit financial bottoms. But this was such an emotional bottom for me to realize that I could not manage my own life anymore. Like, I could not do this on my own. I had to seek something else to help me.
Was it alcohol, drugs, all the above?
All of the above, whatever I could put my hands on. I love to speed roll, so mixing uppers and downers, and I would consider myself a late bloomer per se. Like, I drank throughout, from the time I was like 14 onward, but I didn't get into heavier things, until I was like 17. And it wasn't until I was writing my 4-step that I realized that I was drinking alcoholically from the very beginning. To me, I was very heavily involved in dance. I danced competitively on my high school team, on a private dance studio team. I taught dance. I think that kept me at bay for a while. And then when I was writing my 4-step, I realized that the very first time I took a sip of alcohol, my pure goal was to drink until I blacked out and not remember anything and numb myself. And so it took me however many years to realize that I really did drink alcoholically from the very beginning.
So when you came down here in 2011, did you go to treatment one time?
No, I was no white chip wonder by any means of the imagination. I went, did like a few IOPs up in New Jersey, kept relapsing to the point where they kicked me out because I think it was like 3 times in a row they kicked you out, which I can't believe they even give you that many times. But came down to Florida and really wanted to stay sober. And then like 3 months after getting out of residential treatment, found myself relapsing and I could not get a hold on my life. The manipulation was real because at that time, this was before they tested for things like kratom and what was the fake weed called? I can't remember.
Spice.
Yeah. And I hated the high from Spice, but I kept smoking it because they didn't test for it unless they sent it out for a panel. So I would have a few days under my belt to, figure out what I was going to do. And so that's how I also knew that the insanity of the disease and the obsessive thought had, really taken hold of me.
And so what was it that you were like, okay, I'm done?
So ironically, and I remember it still very, very vividly, I was dating this guy at the time, and he found out surprisingly in Halfway House, right? Like we're not supposed to. And he had found out that I had cheated on him with like a bunch of other people. And I was getting high. I was continued to relapse. And he spit in my face. And at the time, all I could think about was like, how am I still creating this much destruction and pain for people around me when I thought I was trying to stay sober? But realistically, I wasn't doing what it's laid out in the big book, right? Like I was taking it in chunks. I was only doing what I felt comfortable with. And so to me, I realized that unless I had some type of solution, I would never be the type of person that I wanted to be. And I would continue to cause damage and havoc and chaos to the people that I cared most about.
My sponsor said it all the time, Ben, you don't have a drinking problem, you got a personality problem, dude.
Yep. I love the line that says, I came in here for my drinking and I stayed because of my thinking. And to me, that's so real, right? Like even after 14 years sober, it's my thinking that gets me in trouble these days. Like I'm far from perfect.
Yeah. It has very little to do with the drugs and the alcohol.
Mm-hmm. They're just but a symptom.
Is where you went to treatment still around?
No.
Oh, then where was it?
It was B-Hop back in the day.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Yeah. I think Banyan bought them out a few years ago, and then now I think so full circle moment. I went to visit Jackie with Seaside Wellness, part of Quadrant Group, and their new property over on Singer Island is B-Hop's old residential that I stayed in, and the room that she took me to tour into was my room that I stayed in at residential back in the day. And
Seaside?
Seaside Wellness, yeah. It was such a full circle moment. I was like, oh my gosh.
What were you doing in the marketing space?
So previously I'd worked with a skincare manufacturer here in Boca and like I absolutely loved it, but the job itself kind of just was like a dead end. Like I'd have no more room for growth like professionally. And to me, growth's always been really important throughout my sobriety, whether it be professionally, spiritually, financially. So I just kind of felt like I hit a dead end. And so I had this side business for a while, Marketing Maven Studio, where I was helping different companies, some in the treatment world, some in the beauty space with their marketing needs. And so I kind of just pivoted and made that a full-time thing. But then I realized it was like too isolating for me. I was only working from afar and I wanted to have more physical interaction, I guess you could say, with my work.
Yeah. That's cool. I geek out kind of on marketing. Like stuff. I consider this podcast, marketing
it is, yeah.
So, all right, my next question. Do you have anything yet?
No, I got some stuff in the crock pot.
And I asked this to just about everybody. How important was it for you to have other women around you, especially in the beginning?
So what I realized when I put down drugs and alcohol, or was trying to within this like 8-month stretch, I came down in January, didn't get sober till August of 2011. and I say it very loosely, put down the drugs and alcohol because there was relapses involved, but men became the next biggest drug for me, what have you. And so for me, when I did come to that realization August 23rd, I actually made the decision to go to an all women's halfway house. It's no longer around, but that I realized was like going to be like kind of the key to success for me. The piece that I would really been missing was like relying on more women. And actually, when I was in halfway house before I relapsed, I had one of the techs there, and I still thank him every anniversary because like what he had to say at that time was like, I just didn't want to hear it. But looking back, like, you know, I can see how important that was. And that was like really pivotal for me. And he said, Allie, he's like, do you really want to be a woman of integrity? Because like your actions are speaking otherwise. Because like, you know, when you have clients in your care, like who's commingling, who's doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
And so when he called me out, I didn't want to hear it. I was like, how rude. But then I also started realizing just how important other women would be around me. And so for years, I had an all women's home group. Now my home group is co-ed, but every Friday night, me and the girls from that meeting, we go out to dinner, we socialize, you know, we fellowship. And honestly, it's been the women that have saved my ass more and more times than I can count.
When I mentioned the crock pot, I was trying to figure out how to go in this direction. But essentially, like, and we were brought up the same way. Men need good men in their life. Women need good women in their life. And my sponsor would often say to me, Ben, the woman that you want to be with now versus the woman that you want to be with when you're done with 12 steps and have like solid recovery under your belt are two completely different things. And relationships and recovery, that they're interesting, and you have to grow into this maturity, I feel like. But like in the beginning, when you get into like the rehab romances, or you're you know, in your first year, you meet some chick in a AA meeting or whatever, like it's almost like a survival mechanism. Like you latch onto each other because this one brings this one to the table. I got the vape, you got the juice. I got the scooter, you got the gas money. Like, you know, versus like building up together. Because I want to throw this out there. Like, we know your fiance very well. And I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, like, and we don't know each other very well. We just met, this is our second time meeting. But like, I look at it like this, where you're so well spoken and well versed in recovery, but because of your own experience and the marketing stuff you do. I'm just sitting here thinking, these two together, you and your are like gonna be like already like a power couple in the recovery field, which can, like, when two people like you come together, you're gonna be able to help so many people. It's just wild. Like, if you think about it, I'm like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
To know that two people are driven, have the passion, because I've seen Daniel's passion. I see your passion for this. And you were kind of talking about the other job, like, yeah, it's dead end, you know, and you liked it, but like, there's something about doing what we do where we're helping other human beings, and we were talking about it before we hit record, where Tom was like, stop talking about that. This is good material. Let's hit record first. But like, for instance, you mentioned how you witnessed some folks where like, if they can't help we don't take your insurance, sorry, they hang up on somebody. Versus like, hey, we don't take your insurance here, but let me help you find a place. Oh, really? You'll help me? Well, yeah, like it takes me 5 minutes because this is what I do. I know all the good facilities. I know all the good people. I know which places take your insurance. Like, why would I not give somebody that 5 minutes of effort to help them, to know that they made it somewhere safe that's going to help them? Like, it just blows my mind that there's people that work in this field. They're like, sorry, we don't take your insurance. Click. It's crazy. I don't know. All right, off my soapbox. Sorry.
No, that was good, Ben. But as you were talking, this question popped into my mind, and it's somewhat personal, but not really. I don't know.
I'm an open book.
Yeah,
make your best shot.
You said that like men had become your drug of choice.
Yeah, my higher power.
Your higher power. Yeah. Did you have to like actually? Oh man, I'm like, so for all the listeners, I was out very late last night. We went to the Benson Boone concert, which was phenomenal. But I'm lacking in sleep because I got home at like 1 o'clock in the morning and I was just like wired and couldn't fall. So I fell asleep, I think, around 3. and here we are, it's 10 a.m. or whatever. Did you have to make the conscious decision to stay away from men and like put up guardrails around that because you know history has proven that that is where you'll go? And the reason that I ask this is because oftentimes when people enter into recovery, you could be doing a lot of the right stuff. You could be going to meetings, you can have service commitments, you have a sponsor, you have sponsees maybe. But in my opinion, two things that oftentimes overpower that stuff is money and sex. And so we have to, from somebody in recovery and going through this journey, we have to really make the conscious effort to set up those guardrails. And that's why I asked you about the women. Like, what is it that you had to do to ensure that that wasn't kind of where you went back to? Because maybe that's where you wanted to go, but you knew you couldn't.
I would say having a women's home group was like first and foremost, like the most important. And then secondary to that would be I moved to a women's halfway house, right? Because if it was a co-ed halfway house, it would be so easy for me to just walk across and co-mingle and, co-interact. And then thirdly is just having a really great network of women. So I remember at my halfway house, one of like the ladies there was like, "You're never here. Like, why are you always out?" And I'm like, "'Cause like I enjoy everyone around me, but I want recovery." And so if I'm looking to people with the same amount of recovery time as I am, it's still sick thoughts. Where if I'm going outside and looking for women with a year, 3 years, 5 years, double digits, I'm actually gaining a lot of insight and wisdom from them because they've walked the path that I have. And so it was really trying to find women that were doing the deal and not just talking the talk, but walking the walk and being great examples of AA to me. And I also think, just to kind of piggyback on what Ben was saying, I find that when, and I'll speak for right? When I was finding relationships in early recovery, when I kept having the issue with guys, I was like trauma bonding with people.
Mhm.
It wasn't coming from like a healthy, we're doing the things we should, we're like healthy, healed people. I mean, obviously there's always more work to be done. But at that time in my life, I had nothing to offer because I was at such a bottom emotionally, physically, financially, what have you, where it's like when I started focusing on, meeting with other women and going to women's meetings and like, fixing myself, like through steps 6 and 7, really helped me take a good hard look at what I wanted, who I wanted to be, and what I was doing to walk away from that. Because like my behaviors were not speaking to the woman I wanted to be. So correcting them and like asking God to help, take away my defects to be the woman that I wanted to be and to be a woman of integrity, to be a woman that was honest with both herself and others.
I'm glad you mentioned steps 6 and 7 in particular, because like the definition of insanity is the inability to see the truth, can't tell the truth from the false. And here's the thing about like early recovery relationships. We genuinely go into them with good intentions.
Mhm.
Like, she's the one.
Yeah.
He's the one. Like, we're going to do this together. We're going to grow together spiritually. And this is it.
Mhm.
Like, it's not that the intentions are bad. We just don't recognize that we're not there yet. And step 6 and 7 in particular, like that's why it's so important to do that work, because it tells us the truth about ourselves. Like what that woman said to you, you're not, something along the lines of not living spiritually through your actions or whatever, like that. So doing that work gets rid of the stuff that's like blocking us, so to speak. And we got to be able to see the truth about ourselves. Intentions are good. And like, so it drives me crazy because our clients, we know, and you gotta just let them sometimes have their experience. We're like, they're like, "Oh, but you don't understand how good of a guy he is." I'm like, "No, he's a good guy. Like, I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
But neither one of you are ready for this."
Mhm.
And that's one of them things I had to learn on my own.
Yep.
So,
Andy Stanley, do you know who that is?
Mm-mm.
So he's a pastor of North Point Church, I believe. He had a series called The Rules of Love, Sex, and Dating. And through a Christian lens was the series. But, I mean, the principles behind it can be taken wherever. And he says, "Am I the person that I am looking for is looking for?"
It's funny that you say that, actually, because when you were talking about how in early recovery, like the dating just like never ends up working out, I literally was thinking that I attracted what I was. Like, if you take a look at Allie in 2011 and who she was dating versus Daniel now, it's like night and day, right? Because I got better. And I also noticed a lot too with my family in particular. My relationship with my father growing up was strained, would be an understatement. It was not healthy, not good. And that's been one of the biggest miracles and like benefits of like being sober, is like creating a healthier relationship with him. And I think it's in big part because I worked on myself. So I inspired him to work on himself. And so I do find that when we're actively seeking to better ourselves, we attract better for ourselves.
Yeah.
I should throw it out there too. Like, this isn't a guessing game. And this is what's cool about recovery. There's literally a program for exactly what we're talking about, relationships. Like, if you look at AA in the 4-step, there's literally a sex inventory. And part of that, on the last part of it, is like your future sex ideals. In other words, relationships, not just physical sex it's referring to. But I actually just finished a 4-step with the guy the other day. And I would say probably the most important part to him, because he's got a couple of years under his belt and another 12-step fellowship, but he wanted to go through AA steps. Just those future ideals. Like, it's like you're writing a contract with yourself of like, before I start dating someone, this is what I'm going to be able to offer. And also saying the other person should be bringing this to the table and offering. It's building value for yourself and for what you expect to come into your relationship, and how you should be treated too. And we don't have that in early recovery. Look at the way that we treat ourselves, like jamming needles in our arms. Like, I don't have that much value of myself right now. Like, I'm not going to pick somebody that's going to value me, naturally. So but there's literally a specific program for it. This isn't like guesswork. And I want people to hear that, because we give clear-cut specific directions, like the big book says.
And the cool thing too, sorry, not to interrupt you, is that I forget what speaker I heard one time, but like she said, we are allowed in this program to change our minds, meaning that when I first did my 4-step, because I've done a few 4-steps, when I first did my 4-step and my ideals and all of that, it looks very different than what it does today. Because as I go through these relationships, right, once I had a few years under my belt, I uncovered and was more aware of things about myself that I needed that I wasn't once aware of, because I looked at other things as being the problem. I was numbing myself out to like the truth.
And I love that you brought that up, because this journey, you're 14 years sober?
Yeah.
So are we. How long have you been with Daniel?
Putting me on the spot. 3 years, I think.
3 years. My point in bringing that up is like, and dude, I just know you two are going to make it. I'll just throw that out there.
You.
Like, but it took over a decade for you to probably find a Daniel, and it's, how do I say it? You didn't know you were looking for a Daniel, maybe? I don't know.
Well, it's funny
in the
because
first 10 years.
and I'll tell Daniel this. I don't feel bad sharing this with you guys and with everyone watching, but Daniel would have never been the person that I picked out of a lineup, right? But it's funny because I still to this day sometimes don't know what I need, but like God knows what I need. And when he put Daniel in my life, it was such a breath of fresh air and so refreshing that he wasn't afraid to have hard conversations with me. He continuously showed up, and even throughout the first, I don't know, month or so of us dating, I had been doing a lot of travel for my previous job as well as personally. And so we maybe saw each other a handful of times over the course of 2 months. But throughout that time, with him showing up and FaceTiming and calling, like I saw the consistency. And that's what I'd really been missing, was like the consistency, the altruistic behavior. Like he genuinely wanted to be a good person. It wasn't trying to get me into bed per se or what have you, and it was just so refreshing to me.
That's a beautiful thing about recovery and getting therapy. For me, like I'm biased. I think 12 steps application, but like it teaches us how to communicate. And you just said he's not afraid to have heartfelt conversations. Like any relationship you're going to get into, you are going to have hard conversations. And it is absolutely amazing when you're having a heartfelt conversation that can be difficult and you may be at odds, but at the same time, you're able to in a very healthy manner, like meet in the middle because of our recovery and what we're taught. It's beautiful.
It's so funny that we're having this conversation because Daniel and I literally just had a conversation last night, and it was obviously over FaceTime because we're doing the long distance thing for a bit. But I was like, I feel so uncomfortable right now. And he's like, I do too. He's like, but that's how I know that we're growing together because we're being honest with one another, right? I've been stressed out over wedding planning, starting a new job, living far away from my fiance, like all of these typical stressful, variables. And so it was just like a really, I don't know, it was nice. And I said to him after like we got off the phone, I was like, thank you for always showing up and for being willing to have like tough conversations with me because I suffer from like a lot of abandonment in my past. With like past guys, it was like as soon as a tough conversation would rear its ugly head, they'd be running for the hills. And to me, that's not a relationship. A relationship is never perfectly rainbows and butterflies, super happy. A relationship requires work, but a relationship, and this is what I was telling Daniel last night, is a lot of grace and unconditional love for me because I'm not always going to show up perfect. Neither are you. But if we can have grace with one another and realize that, then that's like something that a forever kind of thing is made of.
I love that you just said that too, because that's more specific and detailed where like you just mentioned you brought abandonment issues into the relationship.
Yeah. And I admitted that. I was like, I am definitely like triggered right now.
But here's the thing, like if it wasn't for the work that you've done on yourself, you would have never said out loud to him, I'm bringing abandonment issues to this. And essentially, like, it's given him the ability to look back at you and say, is this your abandonment issues or is this me? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It's being vulnerable with each other. And again, it goes back to the work that we've done to identify that because nobody's perfect.
Yep. And the 10-step helps a lot with that for me too. Like, what... Can I curse on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What kind of shit is mine to own and what kind of shit is Daniel's to own, you know? Because there are times where I bring things to him that are not for him to do anything with. Like, that's something I have to work on. But then there's times where he brings something to me, like last night, and I was like, I love you, but this seems kind of like your shit to own. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's so AA has been helpful in the sense of like knowing what I have to do and to not be codependent and take on what the other person has to do.
I love that. This is going good.
Ben's loved just about everything you've said.
Yeah.
Which is good because I could just sit back and...
Well, it's the same thing like in a relationship where, and again, it's healthy where like, for instance, Destiny will come to me and say, Ben, I'm really mad right now. And me codependent, I'm like, what can I do to fix it? And she'll look at me and go, nothing.
Yeah.
Like it. And I know that's her way of saying it's not me. And I literally like, she has to fix that. And I just, okay, I'm chilling.
Yeah.
You let me know. Like there's nothing I can do about it. So like, that's the other healthy part of a relationship is knowing when you can like separate your shit from the others and like say, hey, that's on you, figure it out. But it's communicated in a very healthy, loving manner, not like, oh, this is your problem, freaking fix it. It's just so different.
Yeah. I mean, we got to show up and it's
this.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
This is for all our relationships though. I know right now we're talking about,
like
intimate relationships, but like this goes for all relationships in life. You should be able to have these conversations with your friends, with your other family members. And I think honestly, it probably starts there. Going back to what you were talking about with like surrounding yourself with good women, and myself with men, like I got practice having those conversations. I didn't magically like learn how to have these conversations in an intimate relationship. Like I practiced with my male friends first.
Yep.
And then my family members, and like it develops into something more. It's not like, oh, we just learn how to.
Well, I think the big thing is to not avoid them, which is what a lot of us tend to do. And I do. I mean, full transparency. I in my relationship with my wife, I'm very non-confrontational. I don't want to, like, if you're okay, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that you're okay, which translates to, hey, is there anything that I can do? And is there any, like, what can I say right now? Blah, 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 blah. And a lot of times it's like, she's like, I know, just shut up. Because I'm the type of person that, like, if there is going to be confrontation, I want to fix it now. And I don't want to go to bed fighting. I want to know what happened, what did I do, and what can I say to where we could just go to bed and wake up tomorrow as if nothing ever happened. And she does not like that. And so it's been a practice for me. And again, I think this is something that, it's like a skill, you just have to develop it, and it takes practice, and it's going to happen, and embrace it. And, something for me, what I try and do is just make sure that I'm putting 100% effort into my relationships at all times. And hopefully, my wife does the same, and she does a far better job at it than I do. But if we can do that, then, we stand a chance. But I think prior to even getting into these relationships and stuff, it starts with ourselves. In the recovery process, we have to be prepared, because there's nothing harder than a marriage, in my opinion. Dealing with, family issues and child and having children and, stuff like that. I mean, having a healthy marriage by far for me has been the hardest thing in my whole sobriety journey. It's been the most rewarding and the most fruitful, but also the hardest, and so we have to be prepared for that.
I also think too, like, I used to always joke around with my sponsor and say, nothing shows me a clearer reflection of myself than the relationships that I'm in, whether it be an intimate relationship with my fiance, my relationship with my younger brother, my relationship with my dad, because for whatever reason, sometimes I just show up the worst in those relationships closest to me. And kind of to go back on your point, Ben, with like men teaching you how to have like these healthy relationships, women did the same thing for me. And what I realized maybe like at a few years sober is that I thought my vulnerability, like me getting vulnerable, would be my weakness, but really that's where I get the biggest strength. Like I even just shared my morning meditation with like my sponsorship family this morning and like how I related to it. And one of my sponsees was like, I love how vulnerable you always get about where you're at, because that inspires me to do the same. And so I think a lot of times having those hard conversations inspires us to be open-minded to having more of them, per se.
It's funny you said something that sparked a thought for me, where like how toxic relationships start. You said that it's the people you're closest to. Essentially, this is what I heard. Like the people you're closest to are the people that seem to see the worst of us, so to speak. Where toxic relationships start to develop is like, for instance, I know that they're always going to be there for me. Like they're going to love me no matter what. So I unleash the worst of me on them. And then that just continues and festers. But like, that's where we have to emotionally mature in our relationships, all of our relationships, and recognize like, yeah, this person's going to love me indefinitely. However, that doesn't mean that I can walk all over them or be an emotional terrorist, so to speak. Like if you look back at early recovery relationships, thing is like, how much did you get in arguments and fight, and it was just so unhealthy, yet at the same time, you're neither one's going to walk out because you're so codependent and sick. So it just festers and gets worse and worse and worse. It's like that.
I think we also love the chaos. Like I know for myself, when I came in and got sober, I was like, this is too predictable. So for me, I loved the chaos. So like those arguments filled that need for chaos within me. And then you said something else and I'm blanking out, but I wanted to touch upon it, but I'll come back to it. But yeah, so for me, it was like missing that chaos and wanting to like, yeah, let's go. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
Yeah, we're comfortable there. So when are you getting married?
April of next year, April 19th, 2026.
I was going to say
I
7th,
know.
bro.
Yeah.
Is that your anniversary with your wife?
No, that's Ben and I's birthday.
Oh, you share the same birthday?
Same
That is
year.
so... Wow. You guys were meant to be.
Yeah.
I know.
He's my work wife.
That's awesome.
He's my bitch.
Yeah. I don't know. I
kinda-
think Ben would say you're his bitch.
Yeah.
I'm going to let it slide. This is a healthy relationship, so
Yeah.
I'm going to let that go.
Yeah.
This is something Tom needs to deal with.
Oh, that's funny. Man, well, I that was good. I don't even know
I
what.
feel like we should start like a marriage counseling.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Like dating
Pro-
101 and sobriety.
Yeah.
Next podcast coming up.
Well, these topics always do well because it's one of the things that oftentimes goes overlooked, but it's one of the most important things that we can talk about. So
I don't think we've ever done an episode that was like dating and sobriety.
no,
This was it.
Yeah, I think this could be it. And, I remember I did one years ago. And honestly, I don't even know what I said in that episode, but it probably wasn't accurate. Don't go back and try and find that one because I was in relationship diapers. Okay, so resilience.
Mm-hmm.
That can be found at resilience.com.
ResilienceRecoveryResources.com.
Okay, I'll link that. ResilienceRecoveryResources.com.
We're on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn,
All
YouTube,
okay.
wherever you can find us.
I'll say
YouTube
this
as
about
well?
Yeah.
resilience too. Like if I hear adolescent, you're the only place that I call.
Thank you.
Like legit. And it's been that way for years.
Yeah.
And it's because we know the people that run it and they are you included,
yeah.
are
thank you.
such good people.
Yeah. The team we have is absolutely awesome. That's been another refreshing thing is to have such a great team to work around. So
We got to have Chris come back on. He was on
Yeah.
a couple years ago, probably.
Wasn't Matthew Anderson on with him with
Yeah.
us?
yeah.
Both
yeah.
at the same time?
He
The
plays
knife.
disc golf sometimes with my brother. So fun fact, I actually work with my brother at Resilience Recovery.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my brother's their director of operations. So that's how
Oh.
I kind of first got introduced to resilience way back in the day. My brother was their second employee maybe ever. So the longest employee they've had there. He's an OG.
Really?
That's so
Yeah.
crazy. And then isn't Reprieve somewhat tied to resilience?
Yeah,
A little
yeah,
bit. I don't know the details, but
Yeah.
like, what a small world.
I know.
Like, and
It
then
really
Daniel's
is.
at Reprieve.
Mhm.
Like like, dude, you can't make this
Reprieve,
stuff up.
Resilience, Rock,
Yep.
all the R's is all the good facilities.
Yeah, it's all the good facilities.
Yeah. So,
Must be in the name.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I don't have anything else. Ben, do you?
No, that was fun. I had fun. I needed this morning.
Yeah, I did too.
Just
Uplifted.
enjoying.
Well, I appreciate you coming on, Allie, and
you for having me.
open invite anytime. We got to get Daniel. Maybe have you and Daniel come on.
That would be fun.
That would be good.
He
Yeah.
might be down in the next month or two, so I'll let you guys know when he comes
Okay.
down. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
let's do
forget.
that.
Was he? I like feel really bad.
No,
was
I think
on.
it was like a year or so ago because I actually remember when he was on because he had the same fear. He's like, I hope I don't say like too many times. And I definitely stumbled today. I'm like, whatever, I'm human. But
I didn't
it was like a year ago.
recognize
It might not even be fully a year, but it was like, I would say 9 months or so.
I feel bad about this, but we'll have somebody on the podcast. And like,
I
dude,
know.
we have close to 600 episodes.
How do you keep
And
track?
I forget that they were on. I'm like, hey, we got to get in there. Like, I was on. I'm like, oh. I feel so bad. I'm like, no.
No worries.
No, Daniel was definitely on. I was just on here trying to find where, but I'll find it and then link it in the show notes. Handsome young feller.
Really thick Southern accent from Virginia.
Yeah. Oh, hang on a second.
Is there like a screen on your computer you could set it up and you could see like a big bunch at once?
Yeah, I can go 50 at a time and see.
Oh,
yeah. Well, I'll find it and link it. So make sure you go check out resiliencerecoveryresources.com. It's on Facebook, YouTube as well.
YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn.
Yeah. So go there for any adolescent needs. And, if you need put in contact with them and can't figure it out for whatever, just reach out to us and
Yeah.
we can make the connection. So
And
thank
just
you.
real quick, too,
Yeah.
what Ben was saying, like, even if, because we treat adolescent and young adult males, but even if it's a female, like, I just helped a mom find treatment for her 17-year-old daughter over the weekend. So
Yeah.
any adolescent resources whatsoever, we'd be more than happy to help whomever with and put them in
Daughter.
the right, contact. Yeah.
The 17-year-old
My New
daughter.
Jersey accent's coming out. Don't make me say water.
All right. Thank you, Allie.
Thank you for having me.
All right. That is it for this episode of Real Recovery Talk. Thank you for tuning in. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you could always reach us. info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. That is it. We will see y'all later.